The Galactic Council chamber was older than most stars. Its walls were made of crystal stone that reflected light from 1,000 suns. Floating platforms held representatives from across the galaxy, tall beings, small beings, creatures of metal and flesh. This place decided the fate of civilizations. Today, the topic was Earth. A blue planet appeared in the center hologram, slowly rotating. It looked small compared to the massive empires surrounding it. Many council members showed clear boredom. Humanity had been invited, but not out of respect. It was a formality. The human ambassador stepped forward. He was a single man in a dark uniform, no visible weapons, no guards behind him. He looked calm, almost relaxed. That alone confused some council members. Most species arrived with escorts, shields, and symbols of power. Humans arrived with nothing but words. A tall counselor from the Vrax Dominion leaned forward. His voice echoed across the chamber. "So this is humanity," he said with open mockery, "the species that claims it deserves equal status." Soft laughter spread through the chamber. Another council member, glowing with blue light, waved a limb. "Your expansion is slow. Your colonies are few. Your fleets are unimpressive." The human ambassador listened without interrupting. A third voice joined in. "You trade well, yes. You cooperate. But power, strength, you lack both." The laughter grew louder. The ambassador waited until the noise faded. Then he spoke. "We are not here to claim greatness," he said. His voice was steady. "We are here to request neutrality and fair treatment." That answer caused more laughter. Neutrality was what weak species asked for. The Vrax counselor tapped to control, and numbers appeared beside Earth's image. "Your total registered capital ships," he said, "number fewer than 3,000. Is this correct?" The ambassador paused. "We do not publish full military records," he replied. The chamber erupted again. "So you hide them," someone shouted. "Or you do not have them," another mocked. The Vrax counselor smiled shortly. "Let us be clear. The galaxy values transparency. Strength must be proven." He leaned closer. "How many dreadnoughts does humanity truly possess?" The question hung in the air. The human ambassador looked at the hologram of Earth, then back at the council. "We do not count them the way you do." Silence followed. Confusion spread across many faces. "What does that mean?" the blue glowing counselor asked. "It means that we measure strength differently." That answer was not accepted. The council voted quickly, too quickly. Sanctions were approved, trade inspections, military observation near human space, all passed without delay. The ambassador did not protest. He nodded once. Before leaving, he said one final sentence. "You should have asked where they are." Then he turned and walked away. Many laughed again, but not all. Far from the council chamber, deep in human-controlled space, something changed. Encrypted signals moved across invisible networks. Codes older than alliances were activated. In dark regions of space, massive structures began to wake. Inside an asteroid belt far from any trade route, artificial caverns opened. Huge doors slid apart without sound. Blue lights turned on one by one, revealing metal hulls the size of cities. Elsewhere, a moon cracked open, not from damage but by design. Inside, rows of dormant ships waited in perfect alignment. Human engineers moved with quiet purpose. No panic, no rush. This had been planned long ago. On a listening station near the edge of human territory, a council probe drifted silently. Its sensors were advanced, capable of reading deep space movement. At first, it detected nothing.
Then a single energy spike appeared. Then another. Then hundreds. The probe adjusted its scan. What it saw did not make sense. Large objects were moving in perfect formation, not leaving ports, but appearing from shadows. The probe tried to count. It failed. The data stream grew too large. The probe sent an emergency transmission back to the Council. In the Council chamber, analysts reviewed the signal. Their confidence faded with every second. "This must be an error," one said. "Recalibrate," another ordered. But the numbers kept rising. Thousands, tens of thousands. The signal cut off. Back in human space, the first wave of dreadnoughts reached open void. They were identical in design. Dark hulls, glowing blue cores, weapons still cold. They did not fire engines aggressively. They simply existed, heavy and unstoppable. More followed, and more. Humanity did not announce their presence. They did not threaten. They arrived. And somewhere in the Galactic Council chamber, a single counselor finally understood. They had never asked how many ships humanity had. They had never asked how long humans had been preparing. They had never asked what silence truly meant. And now it was far too late. The Galactic Council did not panic at first. They had seen strange reports before. Sensor errors, false readings, ghost signals from deep space. This, they believed, was the same. The emergency data from the probe was projected into the Council. Numbers scrolled too fast to read. Shapes overlapped. Motion vectors crossed each other in impossible patterns. An analyst cleared his throat. "The probe detected large objects," he said carefully. "Their size matches standard limits." 10,000, another counselor asked. The analyst swallowed. "We lost accurate counting at 10,000. Silence spread slowly. "That is not possible," the blue glowing counselor said. "No species maintains such numbers." Before anyone could respond, another signal arrived. A border watch station near neutral space reported visual contact. This time it was not numbers, it was sight. The feed activated. The chamber filled with darkness. Stars appeared, then vanished behind massive shadows. Ships emerged from the void. They were enormous, each one larger than the Council's largest flagships. Their hulls were dark and smooth, broken only by glowing blue lines that pulsed like slow heartbeats. They moved in perfect formation, no wasted motion, no chaos, just control. The station's observer whispered, his voice barely audible. "They just appeared." The feed zoomed out. More ships filled the frame, then more. They stretched beyond the camera's range, layer after layer, like an iron wall in space. No weapons were charging, no shields flared. They were not attacking, they were waiting. The Council chamber erupted into shouting. "This must be a trick! Human illusion technology! Shut down the feed!" But it did not shut down. Another station activated its broadcast, then another. Different angles, different locations, the same sight. Human dreadnoughts everywhere. A quiet voice spoke over the chaos. "Signal incoming." The Council fell silent again. A single human transmission filled the air. No symbols, no music, just a calm voice. "This is a routine fleet movement," the message said. "No hostile action intended." Routine. That word struck harder than any threat. The Vrax counselor stood up, his confidence cracking. "This is a violation of balance," he roared. "No species is allowed such power." There was no reply. The feed continued. On one screen, engineers could be seen walking inside a dreadnought hangar. They were small compared to the ship, but their movements were relaxed, calm, like workers on a normal day. On another feed, ships exited from inside a hollowed comet. Doors closed behind them, leaving nothing but ice and dust. Humanity had hidden entire fleets inside space itself. A council historian spoke quietly. This scale requires centuries of planning. Another counselor realized something worse. These ships are not new. The room froze. "Explain," demanded the Vrax counselor. The historian adjusted the display. "Hull wear patterns suggest repeated drills. Engine signatures are refined. These vessels have been active, just not seen." A terrible truth settled in. Humanity had not rushed. They had waited. In human space, command centers lit up one after another. Officers stood at their stations, reading reports they had already expected. No alarms blared, no panic spread. This was not an emergency. This was a schedule.
The galaxy had rules. They were old rules, written after wars that destroyed stars and erased species. One rule stood above all others. No single power must ever grow too strong. That rule was now broken. Across dozens of systems, Council analysts worked without rest. Data flowed from probes, stations, and stolen sensor feeds. Every number was checked twice, every reading confirmed by another source. The result was always the same. Humanity's fleet was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. A senior analyst spoke in a low voice. "We have mapped confirmed sightings across 43 regions." A large star map appeared in the chamber. Red markers spread like a sickness. "They are not gathering in one place," he continued. "They are already positioned." The implication was terrifying. This was not a mobilization. It was deployment. The Vrax counselor slammed a claw against his platform. "Give me the number," he demanded. "Stop dancing around it." The analyst hesitated. "We estimate no fewer than 500,000 Dreadnought-class vessels." The chamber went silent. Even the machines stopped humming. 500,000. That number crushed logic. An empire with 10,000 was considered unstoppable. 100,000 would collapse supply lines and economies. 500,000 meant something else entirely. It meant preparation on a level no one had imagined. A counselor from a machine world spoke next. "Our simulations show these fleets could isolate every major hyperspace route within days." Another added, "They could end interstellar trade without firing a single shot." Fear crept into every voice. Humanity did not need to attack. They could simply exist. In human space, Admiral Rhea Collins stood before a massive display. She watched fleet icons move into final alignment. Her expression did not change. "Confirm logistics," she said. A voice replied, "All fleets fully supplied, autonomous factories active, no shortages predicted." Another voice followed. "Civilian systems report no disruption." Humanity had planned even that. Warships moved, but life continued. That balance confused every foreign observer. Back in the council chamber, desperation replaced pride. "We must demand an explanation," one counselor said. "Demand?" another replied bitterly. "From whom?" They opened a channel to Earth. This time, the human ambassador did not appear alone. Behind him stood others, advisors, officers, civilians, different ages, different backgrounds. Humanity did not hide anymore. "You have counted our ships," the ambassador said calmly. "Yes, and we demand to know why," the Vrax counselor replied. The ambassador nodded. "Because you always ask too late." He gestured, and images appeared. Old star systems, burned planets, broken moons. "These are civilizations that trusted treaties," he said. "They believed numbers were rude to discuss." The images changed. Human worlds under early threat, blockades, raids, sanctions.
"We learned," he continued, "peace built on promises is fragile." A counselor shouted, "You built an armada to scare us." "No," the ambassador replied, "we built it so we would never have to use it." That answer shook the chamber more than anger would have. An economist from the council spoke quietly. "This fleet would have collapsed your economy." The ambassador shook his head. It did not. Another image appeared. Factories powered by fusion, asteroid mines guided by AI, ships built by machines and humans together. "We built slow, we built smart, we built when no one was watching." Silence followed. One counselor finally asked the real question: "What happens now?" The ambassador did not answer immediately. In deep space, more human dreadnoughts finished emerging from folded space. The final formations locked into place. 500,000 ships. Perfect order. No weapons active. No threats issued. The ambassador spoke. "Now the galaxy must decide how it treats those it once mocked." The council realized the truth. This was not a declaration of war. It was a correction. Their old balance no longer mattered. Humanity had rewritten it. On distant worlds, citizens watched the feeds in disbelief. Some felt fear, others felt relief. For the first time, the great empires were not the strongest, and the strongest did not shout. They waited. In the quiet that followed, every species understood one thing clearly. Humanity had not emerged suddenly. They had always been there, watching, preparing, counting. And now the galaxy was being counted instead. The galaxy reacted in waves. First came disbelief, then denial, then fear. Across hundreds of worlds, emergency councils were called. Leaders who once laughed at humanity now stared at silent screens, watching the same image again and again. Endless human dreadnoughts, motionless, patient, unstoppable. Markets collapsed within hours. Trade routes were paused for safety. Insurance networks failed. Cargo fleets refused to launch. No one knew where it was safe anymore. On the capital world of the Vrax Dominion, High Commander Zorath watched the feed alone. The room was dark, lit only by the blue glow of human ships. 500,000, he whispered. His aide entered quietly. "Our fleets are ready," the aide said, though his voice lacked confidence. Zorath did not turn. "Ready for what?" he asked. "To die?" Across the stars, similar conversations took place. Some empires chose anger. They accused humanity of deception. They demanded disarmament. They called for unity against Earth. Others chose fear. They fortified borders. They pulled fleets back to defend their home systems. They canceled old grudges, suddenly desperate for allies. And a few chose understanding. These species remembered history. They remembered what happened when power was ignored too long. Back at the Galaxy Council chamber, chaos ruled. Representatives shouted over each other. Threats were made. Old treaties were thrown aside. "This is an act of intimidation," one counselor yelled. "No," another replied, voice shaking. "This is restraint." The Vrax counselor stood again, his authority slipping. "We must act before they do." A quiet voice answered him. "Act how?" It was the machine world representative. "Our calculations show that any hostile move would be detected instantly. Response time, minutes. Outcome, catastrophic." The chamber fell silent. Humanity had not surrounded the galaxy, but they had positioned themselves close enough to reach anywhere. A junior counselor asked the question everyone feared. What if they decide to rule? The answer came from an unexpected place. They won't. All eyes turned. It was the human ambassador, still present on a private channel. You do not build this kind of power to rule others. You build it to make sure no one rules you. Some believed him, others did not. In secret, several empires began their own plans. A covert alliance formed within hours. Its goal was simple: find humanity's weakness. Spies were sent, networks were hacked, ancient weapons were awakened. But every attempt failed. Human systems were layered with defenses. Data paths led nowhere. Human logistics adapted faster than expected. It was as if humanity had predicted betrayal, because they had. On Earth, Admiral Collins received the reports. No confirmed hostile movements, but multiple powers are testing our borders, an officer said. Collins nodded. Maintain posture, she replied. No escalation. Another officer hesitated. Permission to speak freely. Granted. He's freaking out, he said. Some may attack just to feel control again. Collins looked at the fleet display. Fear makes people foolish, she said. That is why we prepared. Elsewhere, civilian worlds watched humanity closely. On a small trade planet near human space, a merchant named Lyra stared at the sky. Human ships passed silently overhead, massive shadows against the stars. They did not stop, they did not scan, they did not demand. They simply passed. Lyra felt something strange: safety. For the first time in years, pirates avoided the region. Border wars went quiet. Old threats vanished. Humanity's presence changed everything without firing a shot. Back at the council chamber, the panic reached its peak. Emergency.
For a long time, the galaxy had believed silence meant weakness. Humanity had allowed that belief to live. Now, the Council was about to learn why. The Galactic Council chamber was quieter than it had ever been. No shouting, no threats, only tension. Every representative watched the human ambassador, waiting for answers they feared to hear. The ambassador stood still. "You ask why we stayed silent," he said, "why we never showed our strength." He paused, then continued. "Because the galaxy does not forgive strength that arrives too early." Images appeared in the air. Ancient civilizations filled the chamber, species long extinct, their cities reduced to dust. "These were powerful," the ambassador said. "They revealed themselves too soon." The images shifted. Fleet parades, massive armadas, celebrations of dominance. Every one of them was challenged, feared, then destroyed. The council watched in silence. Humanity's history appeared next. Early human colonies, small, fragile, scattered. Human ships attacked by pirates, worlds threatened by stronger neighbors. "We learned quickly," the ambassador said. "The galaxy respects force, but hunts it too." A counselor spoke softly. "So you hid." "Yes," the ambassador replied. "We hid and we watched." The images changed again. Human engineers working in secret facilities, shipyards buried inside asteroids, entire factories disguised as civilian stations. "We did not rush," he said. "We did not seek revenge." Human children appeared on the display, learning, growing, living normal lives. We planned for their future. Back on Earth, Admiral Collins watched the council feed from a quiet room. She remembered the early days, the debates, the fear, the choice humanity had made. Prepare quietly. Never provoke. Never boast. A junior officer nearby asked, "Do you think they understand now?" Collins did not answer immediately. "Understanding," she said finally, "takes time." In the council chamber, one representative finally spoke with honesty.
You built 500,000 dreadnoughts because you were afraid. The ambassador nodded. Yes, he said, afraid of becoming history. That word echoed. History. Every species in the chamber knew its weight. Another counselor asked the question that mattered most. Why show us now? The ambassador looked directly at the council. Because you chose to test us, he said, and because silence no longer protected us. The council remembered the sanctions, the inspections, the mockery. They had forced this moment. The ambassador continued. We did not deploy our fleets to threaten you, he said. We deployed them so you would stop guessing. The feed shifted. Human dreadnoughts held their positions, far from population centers, far from trade routes. Their placement was careful, almost gentle. We chose restraint, even now. That truth unsettled many. 500,000 ships could end civilizations, yet they did nothing. Across the galaxy, ordinary beings felt the change. On border worlds, old enemies stopped fighting. Pirate clans vanished overnight. War profiteers lost power. Humanity's silence had once been ignored. Now it was respected. Back in secret chambers, some leaders still planned betrayal, but those plans grew quieter. Humanity's intelligence networks detected every movement, every whispered alliance. Humanity did not stop them. They let fear do the work. On a distant human colony, a teacher explained the news to children. "Why do we have so many ships?" one child asked. The teacher smiled sadly. "So you never have to hide," she said. In the council chamber, the ambassador finished his explanation. We stayed silent because words failed others. We prepared because promises failed us. He looked around the chamber. We revealed ourselves because the galaxy was ready to listen or be forced to. No threats followed, no demands, just truth. The council members felt something unfamiliar. Shame. They had laughed at humanity. They had called them weak. And now they realized something worse. Humanity had been patient. A senior counselor finally spoke. "What do you want from us?" The ambassador took a breath. "Change," he said. "Not submission, not fear. Recognition," he continued, "that peace must be protected by those willing to prepare for war, but never seek it." Outside, human dreadnoughts remained motionless. Inside, the galaxy struggled with a new reality. Humanity had not come to rule. They had come to make sure no one else ever could again. The silence that followed was different now. It was not ignorance, it was respect. And deep within the council, a final truth settled. The most dangerous species in the galaxy was not the loudest. It was the one that waited.